coming along to their lunch and learn this afternoon. HSEQ for graduates, getting it right from the start. My name's Stuart Johnston. I'm the HSEQ advisor for Western Australia, or Logicams West, and I'll run you through the session this afternoon. So thanks very much for coming along. HSEQ, what HSEQ actually stands for. Health itself is defined as a state of complete physical or mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Safety is a relative freedom from danger, risk or threat of harm, injury or loss to personnel and or to property, whether caused deliberately or by accident. Environment is the sum total of all our surroundings, including natural forces and other living things, which provides conditions for development and growth as well as danger and damage. Quality. In manufacturing, a measure of excellence or a state of being free from defects, deficiencies and significant variations. It's brought about by strict and constant commitment to certain standards that achieve uniformity of a product in order to satisfy specific client or user requirements. When we talk HSEQ, one of the more common terms used is duty of care. Duty of care is enshrined in common law, and it's a legal obligation imposed on an individual requiring adherence to a standard of reasonable care whilst performing any acts that could foreseeably harm others. It's the first element that must be established to proceed with an action in a negligence case. Duty of care may be considered a formalisation of the social contract, the implicit responsibilities held by individuals towards others within society. It's not a requirement that a duty of care be defined by law, though it will often develop through the jurisprudence of common law. Although duty of care is easiest to understand in the context of events like blunt trauma, it's important to understand that a duty can still be found in situations where plaintiffs and defendants may be separated by vast distances of space and time. For instance, an engineer or a construction company involved in erecting a building may be reasonably responsible to the tenants inhabiting the building many years into the future. Moving from common law, we move into legislated duty of care. Our statutory and industry requirements have generally been relied on from common law, but developed into legislation written to formalise the concepts. Each jurisdiction is bound by its own laws and conventions. In Australia, except for Victoria and WA, which is supported by state legislation, the Work Health and Safety Act of 2011 mandates the duty of care requirements and responsibilities. In New Zealand, the Health and Safety at Work Act of 2015 applies. It should be noted that whichever of the acts applies within your workplace, these duties of care are generalised responsibilities, and reference still must be made to other relevant acts or legislation in regards to specific responsibilities. Supporting legislation may include things like the Electrical Safety Acts, Environmental Protection Acts and so forth, but you'll also find duty of care in all other facets of law, including things like the Road Traffic Act, the Criminal Codes and even the Police Act has duties of care. For Australia, the Workplace Health and Safety Act 2011 places duty of care on all workers and other persons at a workplace to take reasonable care of their own health and safety. Your own safety is the most important. Take reasonable care that conduct doesn't adversely affect others, so look after your workmates and look after all other persons. It's also an obligation to comply so far as you're reasonably able with instructions, and we refer to lawful instructions of either the business or supervisor. You're also required to cooperate with reasonable notified policies or procedures. Workplace Health and Safety Act also allows workers to cease work if exposed to serious risk. It's about codifying the existing common law rights. Workers do have to notify management, and if the task can't be done safely, they can be redeployed to other suitable duties. With duty of care, we refer to employees or workers, and workers include a direct employee of the business, a contractor or subcontractor, an employee of a contractor or subcontractor, an employee of a labour hire company who's been assigned to work in the person's business or undertaking, an outworker, an apprentice or trainee, a student gaining work experience, and even a volunteer. When defining workers, these categories are easily identified. You do not need to be a direct employee of the business in order to be considered a worker. That means that any person in the workplace has a responsibility for safety to themselves, to their workmates, and to all other persons. The duty of care extends to not only people, but also to the environment and includes an ongoing responsibility. Within Logicams, we have enshrined a health, safety and environment policy, and we work collaborative with a can-do approach. We believe we can deliver high-quality results to our clients in a safe and environmentally responsible manner. Logicams are committed to minimising the risk of injury and illness to our people, to the identification, management and reduction of our potential impact on the environment, and to the prevention of pollution. We achieve this by complying with all applicable laws, regulations and standards, customer requirements, and apply company standards where laws do not exist. We implement a robust management system to manage HSE, and that's both communicated and maintained. Consulting and communicating with employees and relevant stakeholders on issues that have the potential to affect the environment and/or their health and safety. We leading training and motivating our people to ensure that they're competent to work in a safe and environmentally responsible manner. Integrating HSE considerations into business and project strategy and planning. Implementing a framework for establishing, monitoring and reporting on HSE objectives and targets. Regularly monitoring and reviewing the application of these commitments to drive continual improvement. We recognise that every Logicams employee and contractor has an important role to play in improving and maintaining our HSE performance. It's an expectation that all of our people will model leadership in HSE and act with integrity. The responsibility for the application of the policy rests with all Logicams people. It should be further noted that each employee and contractor working for Logicams is empowered and obliged to stop the job if they believe it's unsafe to do so. It's both a right and a responsibility. Logicams employees are required to establish a culture in which the authority to stop the job interventions are supported, encouraged, and expected when required. There are many aspects to management of HSEQ. Hazard and risk assessment, our executive committee, contractor management, safety cases, investigating incidents, analysing and reporting our figures, emergency response plans, employee training, safe work permits. We conduct audits and inspections, comply with regulations, attend safety meetings. We have standards and procedures, and obviously our HSE policy. There are many ways in which we apply safety within our workplace, including correct planning, reviewing and assessing of the task, the role, the competency of individuals, and most importantly through each process, ensuring effective communication between all parties involved. Communication remains the key from the initial discussions around the proposal to the delivery of the project, and will include every stakeholder, client, manager and worker. Consultation with communities may be mandated in legislation or may be simply enshrined within our organisational policies and procedures. It's doing the right thing, the right way, for everyone's benefit, including future generations. Our integrated HSEQ management system includes setting objectives and targets. There are a number of methods used to determine the effectiveness of an integrated HSEQ management system, and we commonly refer to either leading or lagging indicators. The difference between a leading and a lagging indicator. Lagging indicators are typically output-oriented. They're easy to measure but hard to improve or influence, while our leading indicators are typically input-oriented, hard to measure and easy to influence. A clear lagging indicator is easy to measure. So if you look at the screen at the moment, you'll notice that there are a number of things recorded. Our leading indicators include our risk registers, our travel risk management plans, IMS system audits, HSEQ management reviews, and overdue HSE officers or field audit reviews. Lagging indicators, and this is generally the stats that we see reported, include our total recordable injury rates, our lost time injury rates, occupational illness rates, and includes things like office water usage, office electricity uses, and so forth. Incidents do occur. Whilst we endeavour to ensure that we do not have incidents and we continually strive to achieve a zero harm target, incidents may happen in the workplace. The most common causes of incidents identified through the investigation of recordable injuries can be summarised as inadequate training or supervision of the workforce, improper behaviour or equipment used incorrectly, or inadequate consequence from management for non-compliance, inadequate application of effective control of work, or PPE not being worn or inadequate or not used effectively. Lack of compliance with safe systems of work due to a lack of understanding of requirements leading to inappropriate behaviour, a lack of skills which may be viewed as inappropriate behaviour or incorrect use of equipment, and a lack of compliance with known rules and procedures. Incidents are reviewed and analysed to determine the underlying cause. Logicams is committed to recognising and rewarding improvement in our safety systems, and we have an obligation to review incidents that do occur and to determine the underlying causes of any unplanned incident. In order to ensure a no-blame workplace, we follow a model of assessment that is applied equitably in every instance to maintain a common standard for all workers. In each case, we review either the improvement or the incident to determine where the failing was so that we can prevent it occurring in the future. Dealing with hazards in the workplace. It starts with observation. If you see it, walk around with your eyes open, become an active observer, look for unsafe acts or situations. Intervention, or saying it. When you see something that's unsafe, you have a duty to intervene and keep intervening until it is made safe. You might find that someone intervenes on you at work. They're doing that because they care about your safety. Be open to their intervention and respond positively. Compliance, doing something about it. The safety standards and policies that we must comply with have been shaped by the injuries and fatalities which have occurred within our industry. We must learn from the lessons of the past and comply with the rules. The rules are there to keep us safe. Make sure you understand which rules apply to you and the work you are doing. Contractor management, leading by example and demanding the same of others. Employees are responsible for the safety of all contractors who work with us, whether it's on a long or a short-term basis. It is our duty to ensure that we manage their safety in a strong and structured way, and we take action where appropriate. Security and emergency response. Know your first aiders and the location of your first aid kits and defibrillation devices. Participate in and understand the site emergency procedures. These will generally be explained to you at site inductions. Ensure your visitors are aware of emergency evacuation protocol. Your duty of care extends to your visitors, and when you have visitors on site, it is up to you to ensure they understand what to do in the unplanned event of an emergency. We also look for you to lock up all company-related information or personal items of value at your workstation. Do not leave information lying around. People will pass through your work areas, and a lot of that information is confidential and sensitive. Secure your PCs, your laptops and your mobile devices, particularly locking your computer when leaving your workstation. Intervene if you see an unsafe action or an unsafe situation in your office, and accept the intervention when it is you. Stacking items in walkways or items stacked above shoulder height that can cause harm need to be dealt with. You should also report any security concerns you have to your office supervisor or project manager. Health management. Where possible, participate in the skin cancer checks. Keep yourself healthy. Employ your travel and health your travel health and personal security procedures. Particularly for international travel, we have a fairly extensive management plan that allows you to assess your safety and your health when travelling around for Logicams. Advocate and follow the drug and alcohol policy. No alcohol in the workplace, no drugs in the workplace. Prescription medications to be taken only under the advice of a doctor, and you must advise us if you are using prescription medications. Participation in corporate-sponsored health and sporting events. Logicam supports a healthy community, and we'd like to see you guys involved. Apply the office ergonomics assessment and intervene if you see someone using unsafe ergonomic standards or principles. We can also refer or use the confidential employee assistance program for those who seem to be struggling. We ask you to be environmentally conscious. We talk about increasing our paperless office, utilising two-sided printing, multiple page printing, grayscale, not colour, etc. Using the recycling bins in the kitchen and paper shredder bins. Consider using carbon-friendly office materials. Make sure that you shut down your computers and your monitors outside of business hours. Video conference rather than travel. A video conference obviously doesn't require jet fuel. Use window blinds to reduce office temperature during the hottest hours of the day. Don't be scared to close off the view and try not to overload the air conditioners. We often forget to incorporate our duty of care to the environment in our day-to-day activities. There are any number of ways to reduce, reuse and recycle to help our organisation to meet our obligations and maintain a sustainable business. HSE and design. What is safety in design? Safe design means the integration of control measures early in the design process to eliminate, or if it's not reasonably practicable, minimise the risks to health and safety throughout the life of the facility or the product being designed. Safe design begins at the concept development phase when making decisions about the design and its intended purpose, what materials can be used, the possible methods of construction, maintenance, operation, demolition, or dismantling and disposal. Which legislation, which codes of practice, and which standards apply need to be considered, and they need to be complied with. A designer's duty. When we talk about what is reasonably practicable in relation to a designer's duty, it is under the Work Health and Safety Act, Section 18, obviously with the exception of Victoria and WA, and New Zealand under the WorkSafe Act. Taking into account and weighing up the likelihood of the hazard or the risk occurring, the degree of harm that might result, expected knowledge about the hazard or risk and ways of controlling the risk, and options to eliminate or minimise the risk, and after assessing the risk and the ways of eliminating or minimising, is the cost grossly disproportionate to the risk? Only once ways to eliminate or minimising are assessed can the costs be considered in relation to mitigation. Expected knowledge can change over time. For example, recent terrorist activities around the world have changed the emphasis on risk mitigation strategies at public venues. The key elements for safe design. We use a risk management approach. We must consider the life cycle of the design, the safe design knowledge and capability. We must use consultation, cooperation and coordination, and we must transfer information to all personnel involved. The standard Logicam's engineering process provides a framework to implement HSE in design. Safety in design forms an integral part of the engineering design process and must be considered throughout the project life cycle. Safety in design must be embedded into the engineering workflow and continually challenge the design to ensure hazards are identified and appropriate control measures incorporated. The standard engineering process therefore provides the framework in which the 5 key HSE and design elements can be implemented. tools available for us when considering HSE are listed on the screen. Our integrated HSE management plans are a founding guideline for all workers in the organisation, and we have many methods for ensuring that our legal and moral obligations can be sustained. From tools for the individual to those utilised for the team, every role within the business has a responsibility to ensure every task, plan and project, from concept to delivery, is developed and managed to maintain health, safety and welfare of everyone and the quality of the product we provide. Learning from ours or others' mistakes, communicating effectively, and ensuring that we remain open to guidance from others are vital in this undertaking. Our intranet pages contain these tools and many more that will help you achieve our goal of zero harm. We also have the HSE app, which is available for download and can be used on any smartphone. Site inductions and client safety requirements. PPE, or personal protective equipment, can include the standard long high-vis shirts, eye protection or safety glasses, gloves, safety boots, respiratory protection, hard hats, arc flash protection, etc. Your site induction will contain information including the type of PPE required on site. It will give you an orientation to site, where the muster points are located, appropriate evacuation routes, may touch on or train you in the isolation procedures required for the site, give you advice and training in the pre-task hazard assessments required for the site, such as take fives or step backs, how and when JSEAs, JHAs and safe work method statements are to be used, and should also give you information about crib rooms and amenities. Whilst Logicam has our own safe systems of work and procedures, it must also be remembered that we are frequently required to attend work on client sites. Each of these clients will have their own policies and procedures for HSEQ that you'll be asked to follow in order to meet their duty of care obligations. The information regarding this is provided through the client induction processes, and it cannot be emphasised highly enough how important it is that the client's requirements are followed. Knowing that a specific site may require particular classes of PPE has to be incorporated into your task planning and complied with, whether you're working on site or simply conducting a proposal visit. If at any time you're unsure of the safety requirements for a particular client, speak with your client representative or safety advisor before attending. Arriving on site in sneakers for a client that requires safety boots to be worn is not only unprofessional, but may pose safety risks to yourself. The client site rules have been written in the blood of those who've come before you. Our safety systems are assessed by our clients and audited for suitability, generally during the proposal stage or tendering process, but they are also audited and reviewed during the project. There is quite a bit of support available for you when we talk about health, safety, environment and quality. Obviously, the Logicam's intranet is our method of ensuring that you have the appropriate documentation, access to policies and procedures, and to the support networks available. You can speak with your project managers, your supervisors, or your local safety advisors. You are not alone, and where safety and health are involved, there are many resources available to us. Do not be anxious about asking for help or guidance. Our teams have a great depth of experience and will always be there to assist you. When we talk about getting it right from the start, the most important parts are knowing your role and responsibility in regards to safety, health, the environment and quality. If you're ever uncertain, ask your team leader or safety professional. Use the tools supplied and always look for opportunities to improve safety, not only for yourself, but for everyone else in the workplace. Remember that everyone has a right to a safe workplace, and all persons in the workplace have a right and responsibility to stop work if they believe the act is or may be unsafe. Build a strong foundation employing safe practices from the start and develop from there. Guys, I am going to open it up. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask regarding HSEQ, how we incorporate it in our work, or where to go for help and advice? All right, guys, I'd like to thank you all for coming along today. I appreciate your time and I appreciate you listening in. If you do have any questions at any stage, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us, and I look forward to meeting you when we're out and about. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.